this is so wonderful. I'm here with five absolutely brilliant individuals talking about one of my favorite subjects, menswear. Um, these five wonderful people, they are talented, experienced, and they are strong voices in the field of menswear. Firstly, I want to start with the term menswear. Do we even call it that, Gaurav, anymore?
Yeah, I think we will. We'll always stick to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I would let that term go because I mean it's what defines certain story which is knitted around men always. So yeah, for me it's here to stay always.
So, Ujjwal, you've been doing a lot of, clothes which are non-binary. From the beginning, it's been about silhouette, shape, design, and you never really looked at it as men or women. So, what is your point of view, and how do you see this shift?
This whole tiny little nuances of previous past, all those durations that I have passed during college and during my work and everything else probably pushed me towards having my own OCD of a type and helped me build a signature. So I never actually started with the thought of menswear, but yeah, it had happened. So, and after the first show, a lot of people, a lot of women also came in picture, and they started trying the menswear pieces as well, and that really pushed me. And I thought, why not? We should start something. So majorly, all the menswear translates and towards the women's wear that we do also. So 99% you can say.
Urvashi, I've seen some of your runway shows. I've seen how you put men and women in peach and various silhouettes, which are very interestingly juxtaposed. So what is your viewpoint on ungender and, in context to menswear?
Men in India were wearing lungis and, dhotis, and it's really about almost the same as how women were wearing it. Certain silhouettes that are you still see in rural India. From my lens, I think fashion is freedom. There should be no one defining how you wear something. It's or who wears what.
Wonderful. No, I agree with you. I mean, in fact, I remember even in terms of shooting, and when I was, putting together some shoots about 10, 15 years ago, and there was like, we were trying to blur the boundaries and, because clothing in general is about, and fashion in general is about liberation, freedom. I want to ask Gautam, in fact, Gautam, you've had so much of experience, your days at Helmut Lang and Gucci, and you've sort of even witnessed international fashion. So internationally, of course, we've seen, from icons of genderless fashion to designers like when, Gautier used to talk about clothes have no sex and putting men in bustiers. In India, we're seeing that sort of a movement in menswear in terms of shows and designers and, what is being created. What is your point of view to this sort of philosophy vis-a-vis India?
I actually agree with what Urvashi was saying. We've just had such a long history where we've actually been pioneers in genderless clothing. We've just forgotten about it for such a long time. And as times have changed and as generations have sort of come into, now we're talking, beyond the millennials and sort of evaluating how the youth responds to Harry Styles on the cover of Vogue in a Gucci dress, or even understanding how a man in India would very happily wear an anarkali, which looks like an undercut. There is just a reminder of what's going back, and there is just this acceptance of a more fluid culture about sexual orientation, about sexual identity. Hence clothing. It's just become so much easier for people all over the world to just accept it.
But what I want to also know, Gaurav, if you could elaborate on what's happening to your customer, the regular guy who's coming to the store. Do you see that shift and that ease and that liberation that we're talking about in the person who's coming to the store and who's shopping menswear?
I think it's catching up. It's taking its own pace, but it's kind of catching up thanks to social media, your digital media, because people really want to get out of their, that bubble they were stuck in. Okay, just take a black kurta or a shirt or something basic. So they want to experiment. And that's the fun part, because when they do have Indian designers who are giving them the choice. So they do want to they always want to try it, at least. It definitely is helping now with the exposure that everybody's having today.
Sushant, what is your point of view on the importance of tailoring, cut, construction, and the technicals, the science of menswear? Do you think it's taking a backseat, or is it still as important?
I think bespoke as such has really come back in a big way, because what I personally feel is that, when we look back, when we go like 15 years down the line, our parents used to go to a tailor shop, get themselves custom measured, get the clothes out there. That was how it was before. But then eventually with the influx of brands coming in, with a lot of international exposure, what happened was like the tailor shops, I would say in a way, took a backseat at that point of time. But then now what we see again is that when people have their own individual choices or voices they want to kind of come out with, I think menswear is all about fit. At the end of the day, no matter, we talk about ease, we talk about comfort that is added with the kind of silhouettes we are exploring these days. But I think a well-cut and a well-fit suit or a well-cut shirt or a trouser will never go out of style.
I'm going to come to Gautam on this again. Gautam, do you think Savile Row is affected by what's happening? We spoke about Harry Styles and we spoke about the whole, the wonderful bubbling of, the menswear sensibilities, the expansion of the mindscapes. So do you think the technicals and that whole, finesse that's always emphasized on, do you think it's taking a backseat?
So I have two very different points to make. One, I do think that the mainstream man who is consuming fashion is still, in his day-to-day life, very far away from sporting a dress or a sari when going to work. So Savile Row is far from being impacted. And I think Savile Row will always have that client.
I wanted to add a little something to that, although it's very, very different to my own aesthetic of menswear. But I think in this space, it's all about now people just want to see the labor of love. I mean, they want to see the craftsmanship. The focus has gone back to, as Gautam said, timelessness.
Absolutely. And also what happens is in this conversation, I think communication becomes very important because you open up when you see people wearing things, when you read about it. So I'm going to come to that, like in terms of today, when you are, you have freedom, men have the freedom to express themselves on social media. You can put it out there. It's not like only few people sitting somewhere are telling you what to do. So there's a lot more individual expression, of course. How do you channel the right communication, A? And B, my point again is that are they really feeling it? Because and in terms of as brands and as creators, how are you using your social media and your, the digital space?
My website is in the process. We're looking to launch end of this month or early next month. The first thing that I looked at was how do I, the category. You've always had even today, 99.9% labels and brands, showcase menswear, women's wear, hers, his. The first thing for me was that would allow people to, we have these segments that I'm introducing, and probably it'll be the first in India, or I don't know, from all the research that I did, I didn't find any internationally either, where for anybody wanting to look at silhouettes that are, genderless, they can quickly just go straight to it.
I'm with you. I hear you. I hear you completely. I'm going to get a little contrarian. I'm going to go to Gaurav. Question to you, Gaurav, is while we're saying that, are we really leaving some men out?
Yeah.
Because I've spoken to some men who are like,
No.
What is going on? And what do I wear? And what do you mean I go to unisex and I buy because I want my suit, or I want my this, or I want my... So while we talk of inclusivity, are we really leaving some guys out is what I want to know. Anyone has a contrarian point of view.
The funny thing is what I realized over the years of running a retail atelier boutique shop of mine in Delhi, which I'm redoing now, and this is a new way that I'm kind of revamping the store again. But 80%, I'm not joking, maybe more than 80% of the times when these men come and shop, they come with the women and the family. It could be their girlfriend, their wife, mothers, and then sometimes their aunts, and and they take a call for them because these guys are not very confident to go and shop by themselves, which is fair enough. And that's where we have to give it to them because they need that second opinion. Even today, I mean, if I shop alone, my wife shops alone, but there are times when we take a second opinion, right? Do you think I should take it or not? But that's a very interesting part when I meet a lot of clients, and that's where we as designers come in and give them that knowledge.
There's definitely been a opening of the way men look at things. Yes, they come with women, but I've seen in the last few years, a lot more men are making their own decisions in terms of clothes, grooming, the salons, the beauty industry, as well as clothing. So that's a good thing. And I think it's going to just keep opening. So what I want to understand is Indian identity. How do you see it in your design process? Is your approach towards it like a good design is good design, or is it like I have to do Indian, or how do you bring in that? What's your idea of identity in contemporary India in today's context? How do you approach it?
Again, with the intent of actually supporting craft and making sure it goes down from generation to generation, SMR is taking Indian identities, whether it's chicken curry in Lucknow and putting that on a pair of swim shorts. Now, why am I doing that? Because I want chicken to be on a pair of swim shorts. Problem, you can't use a waterproof thread on a waterproof fabric, but you know what? With enough research, you can, and we're now going to launch that very soon. Going to Ajrak and working with an Ajrak school in Jaisalmer and making sure the women who came from Sindh are able to pass that on to the next generation. And, something's happening on that front, as is with chicken and kal. I think these are just examples of a very small part of India that SMR has been able to touch. But there is just so much more within that Indian identity, even if it is taking miniature paintings from Udaipur and putting them on crossbody bags that you'd use on a beach, So for us, that is India, and bringing that to the world is what we're trying to do in our very small little way.
That sounds fantastic.
I think I love this whole mishmash. It's so amazing because I feel lucky to have been born in such a time. I mean, 80s was something that we were so influenced by the Americans. By 90s, I discovered Europeans. But what really drives me now is our textiles. It's our craftsmanship. India is so rich. Every state, every few kilometers, 100 kilometers, you find a new craft. And I think that is something which really has made me fall in love with the country more, because of the craft.
I agree with you. I think craftsmanship is, I love all whether it's even with why just like textile, whether it's the folk dances, India is just incredible in that way. So what is your idea of slow luxury, and has it evolved in the last year and in the situation that, the current state of affairs? How would you define slow luxury according to you? I
was going to say, in the times that I have sort of worked across, bringing theory to Olivier's theory, to Tayskin's theory, to Diane von Furstenberg, to Thomas, it's just been such a shift from consumerism, because what I grew up as a merchandiser. That's what I did, right? Taking commercial design and making sure it was profitable on a P&L. So it just turned into fashion pollution. And all that this last year has done is forced us to go back to rethinking what is really needed. And it doesn't mean consumption is going to die down. It doesn't mean people will shop less. People will shop, but they will just shop more meaningfully. It allows the creative process to take a little bit more time. It allows for responsible development, and it also allows for seasonless collections and capsules in the world. So I actually think it's been quite a nice palate cleanser and a moment to reset. Doesn't mean business has to take a downturn. It just means business has to be rethought.
Absolutely. Ujjawal.
I think what Gautam said is also the answer to the previous question, because isn't that the Indian identity, that the slow luxury you're talking about?
Yeah.
This is what India was, or India is probably, in terms of way of working, your brought up, your living. And when you talk about Indian identity, sorry, I'm going back to the previous question because I couldn't add to Urvashi's. We are ourselves Indian identity. The way we are brought up, with the thoughts that we are brought up. We cannot be designers here just thinking about taking the Western influences and constantly doing it. Of course, it's a great influence. We can always learn new design. But the Indian identity comes with us. in a tiny little behavior that we have in our studios, in our stores, in our factories, and places with the people. And I think those tiny little energies define a lot of our label. I think more than talking, we should be just simply acting on it and let it be, and just be. And the way we are ourselves, I think all of our, all 5 people we are here, we have a strong Indian identity to portray, and it comes with our self-expression. And it doesn't have to. Why do we even have to mention Indian identity? Because we come from this place. We do.
Yeah.
It's innately ours. We cannot deviate away, no matter how much you run.
I just wanted to add just one bit there, which was really that it is a mind shift. It is about going towards minimal consumption, conscious consumption, investing in timeless pieces that are super luxurious, that bring something to you, and that's something that means something to you. And you are also making a difference to the communities that are creating or that are part of that creation. So I think spending responsibly and educating people to that and breaking out of this cycle of creating endlessly, I think fashion has to move away from that.
I think it's more or less the roadmap for us as well. What we've laid out for ourselves is to make conscious choices as much as possible, from the very beginning. So this is our core design philosophy. We believe in amalgamating classic styles. So, we're more of a purist in that form. We kind of try and create silhouettes which would definitely withstand the test of time, with contemporary aesthetics, and to consciously develop a modern product for a modern man. Because I think, even if you look back, the ecosystem around us is constantly changing, right? So this is what we have to also as designers react to. For that matter, so I think the times we are living in, I think it is very important to kind of go slow with whatever we are producing, because you never know that the ecosystem is completely changing all this while.
That's fantastic. Also, what's really interesting is that all of you talking about preservation and circular fashion and the conservation of heritage and crafts. At the same time, you all are disruptors and experimenters in your own way. You've not done things traditionally. Gautam's doing resort wear, and with the whole a fresh new aesthetic. Urvashi's been disrupting it in her own way. Shan, Gaurav, Ujjawal, I don't need to say about you guys as well. So one quick thing I think we can end with is that what are you looking forward to? What's your hope for the future? And what is it that you're looking forward to?
Forward to end this pandemic somehow. we could get back to do this in real time, sitting together, get back to the ramp, get back to, to kind of meeting people, greeting people, celebrating life.
I'm looking forward to street style. I'm actually looking forward to, actually since my college time, I've been looking forward to.
I think we have learned that through this pandemic, that resilient, driven, passionate, just continue to be and celebrate. I mean, I want to be or imagine myself on that holiday and celebrate what fashion brings with it.
Yeah, wonderful. You know where the holiday clothes are.
Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna Gautam. Final words on what you're looking forward to.
Personally, as a brand, I think what we're looking forward to is definitely travel again. But I think because of the pandemic, we had a very strategic digital-only launch. So what I'm actually looking forward to is actually having a summer this year where we will have pop-ups all over the world, and then coming to India in the fourth quarter with our product and sort of talking about it in India, because we haven't had any brick and mortar presence anywhere in the world. So I'm actually excited to bring Made in India back to India.
Sushant?
So, I believe that we all, as individuals, this is what the pandemic has taught us all, that we all are basically pieces of a jigsaw puzzle. So if we are isolated from one another, right? Like right now we are. So whenever the forces come together, so I think this is what I hope the future, really nice, meaningful collaborations. And I think this is the way forward for every community, be it the fashion community or be it anyone as an individual also, right? We cannot rise alone. So we all have to collectively come together and take for now menswear in India away on a notch above.
Wonderful. On that
Three cheers
fantastic
to
note,
that.
guys, this was really, I had such a good time, and thank you so much. I think I enjoyed myself a lot, and thank you so much for being here.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.